Welcome to the Finest Women in Real Estate TV talk show. I'm your host, Lyndell Werling, and I am so excited to have a really good group of gentlemen with us today. We have some exciting topics to share with you, and I'd like to introduce you to Steve Matley. Steve is the host of Building Solid Foundations.
How are you doing, Lyndell?
I'm well. Thank you for being here. And also excited to have Michael Tracy with us. Michael is the founder of Sales Journey, and I'm going to let him share with you exactly what Sales Journey does, because it's a very important concept. And having had the benefit of knowing you, your training and your concepts have really personally helped me. So I'm going to pull some of those out today to share with our audience.
Awesome. Very excited. Would you like me to tell you a little bit about Sales Journey right now?
Let's go through Steve's Real Men of Real Estate show, and I'm going to come to you because we definitely want our audience to know about that and where they can find you. Because, like I said, I've really personally had a lot of benefit out of understanding what you do and appreciate so much how much you've shared with me.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yes. Steve, we are excited to learn more about the finest men of real estate, the real men of real estate. Yes. So we're the finest women of real estate. Your show has a different name, but a lot of the same concepts. Tell us a little bit about the content that our viewers can expect when they are tuning into it.
So Real Men of Real Estate was obviously a spin-off of Finest Women in Real Estate. Mostly it came about talking to the producer of this show and saying, where's the one for the guys? And she said, well, what would you call it? Real Men of Real Estate. So it kind of works. So that show we have, unlike this show where there's rotating hosts and then different guests that come each time, we have the same panel of hosts each time. There's 3 of us that come in, more like a show that's the same group talking over and over again, and then we'll bring a guest in now and then.
Is that like the 5?
Something similar to that, the 5 or the View or something like that, right. And we generally obviously talk about real estate, but we have a real estate broker out of Orange County. He does mostly residential, but he does a lot of the high-end stuff and a lot of the investment properties. We have a commercial development manager. He builds Class A industrial office space. They're out of Orange County, but he does most of that in the inland area. And then myself, of course, my company Coast to Coast, we do land entitlement projects. And we bring different guests in to talk about different topics on that show that relate anywhere from investment to legal issues to where do you find property to all kinds of different things that we talk about on that show.
It's very interesting information because for a lot of us, making an investment in a home is going to be our greatest investment that we ever make, and then we get emotionally attached because it's where we live and where our families are. So what can viewers that are watching the Real Men of Real Estate, who maybe are just not in the industry but tuning in to see it, is there going to be content for them, and what kinds of things can they look forward to?
There's a lot of content that will help educate people to things they did not know were part of a real estate transaction. We get into a lot of it has to do with the contracting side of it, doing repairs, legal liabilities that come into it. Where do you find funding if you want to acquire real estate, if you don't necessarily have it yourself? How do you get other people involved, do syndications and those type of things? So and we get into some of the legal liability issues. If you get real estate, let's say you want to do a fix and flip. What does that mean on the backside if you did the construction and something goes wrong? What's your liability for that versus hiring a contractor to do it? And if you hire a contractor, how do you know if it's a good contractor? So we get into all those different things on different shows, and we've been actually doing a different series ongoing, adding more and more detail into a lot of what we're doing. So honestly, somebody that's out there that kind of wants to think about getting into real estate and they just kind of want to learn, if they bring a notepad and watch the shows, they're going to learn a lot of information on that.
These sound like really valuable concepts because people don't know what they don't know, and like you're saying, this is a single place that they can come and find out all kinds of interesting facts, phenomenon, and really tune in and leave with the benefit of their time being well spent.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
We just did a show on liabilities of being a landlord, and what does that entail?
That's very fascinating because for some people, they might be thinking about doing that and they hear about it and aren't able to get up that learning curve very quickly.
Right.
Excellent. Well, I'm so excited that we have this show coming up, and I know our viewers will as well. Michael, tell us about Sales Journey. Tell us about how you founded it and who your clients are.
Sure. So I got started in sales kind of by default, like almost 15 years ago. and I was encouraged to get into direct sales. And my first year of direct sales, which was essentially residential door-to-door knocking.
Tough stuff.
Yeah, I probably knocked on about 20,000 doors, and I got rejected almost 20,000 times. And it was a formative experience. And the reason why my mentor wanted me to go through that experience is because he wanted me to essentially be desensitized to rejection or the fear of not being accepted, which is what holds a lot of people back. And that's one of the kind of the bedrocks and principles of sales journey. I went on to have a very long career, and I won't get into all the details, but I discovered sales training. So I was promoted to a sales manager, and they said, go out and recruit and train your own sales team. And I said, oh, awesome, this is gonna be great. So I started recruiting, and it turns out that very few people actually aspire to be door-to-door salespeople. So I'm recruiting from fast food restaurants and gas stations and essentially minimum wage employees from different places. And the ones that agreed to sign up, more than half would quit. So I'm hiring over here and they're quitting in very short order. But something pretty miraculous happened with the ones that stuck around. The ones that stuck around, after 2 or 3 weeks of sales training, went from making $200 a week, right, which was minimum wage at the time, to about $200 a day. So a 600% increase. We work 6 days a week, a 600% increase in income. And what I realized was that those people had originally gone to the market, and the market said, you're worth the minimum, right? That's it. And so that's exactly how they looked. Self-esteem, self-concept, it was all, I'm worth the minimum. And then after a few weeks of sales training, 600% increase in income, everything about them changed. Their income went up, but so did their self-esteem, their self-concept. And so I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Like, I got really enthusiastic about sales training. And so I went through all the workshops, read all the books, went through all the seminars, and something just kind of frustrated me, which is the reason why I created Sales Journey in the first place. And it was because all of them tell you what to do. They say something like, you should spend half your day with qualified prospects. And everybody sits there and agrees and writes it down, spend half my day with qualified prospects, and they get back to the office or they get back home, and they go, well, how the heck do I do that?
Right.
Right. There was no tactical education. Like, what's the how-to, right? And tactics are so important in 2019 and the 21st century just generally, that people need to know what to do when they wake up in the morning, right? Because all the platforms have changed. Like, the sales principles haven't changed for 30 or 40 years, but all the tactics are different because all the platforms are different. And so that's what Sales Journey is all about. It's tactical sales training for the 21st century.
That is really fascinating. I did not know that about your company, and I love that because you're right. There's a big perception that the phone is a dead sales instrument and all this stuff is easy because we have the internet, but people need to know how to leverage those tools. So I think it's really important that they're going to be able to get that from you. I know personally, my dad was in sales, so when I grew up, I understood a lot of sales tactics because he used them on my brother and I, and we got really wise to it. But those are great lessons, and one of them that he tried to impart on us is every day is a sale, right? You can sell yourself, you can be persuasive, you can sell your message, and removing the feeling that selling is about getting what you want from somebody else. What you did with these people, giving them a greater self-esteem, is such a benefit.
Right. It's all about contributing value, right? It's if you're contributing a preponderance of value and people are giving you money because of that, that's not manipulative. And sales I think has a bad name. You say I'm in sales, people immediately recoil. They're like, oh,
resistance.
Oh, you're in sales. Oh, geez, let me run. Can I run? Where's the door? But most people are in sales. They just call themselves different things. They call themselves business developers, growth hackers, agents, distributors. Take account executives, account managers. Take your pick. They're all sales titles. They just don't have sales in them.
Right, exactly. The platform that we're on today, TV, is changing a lot, but adding the value, the real men of real estate and the concepts that average people are going to be able to take advantage of. And on your platform as well, the idea that we can get people empowered to live better lives. I think both of those kind of have that common thread. So I am excited to learn more about Sales Journey. I'm excited to hear more about the real men of real estate. We're going to take a quick break. We will come back to you with more that you can take away from the show, learning about sales, learning about real estate. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
Hey guys, how are you today?
Good.
I'm here to talk about how with technology you can make amazing worlds. Come with me. My team and I bring the Halo world to life.
Is that you?
That is me. I wasn't a math genius, and I knew nothing about coding. But you guys do. You guys have the power to change things.
I want your job.
I want you to have my job.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Welcome back to the Finest Women in Real Estate. I'm Lyndell Werling, your host for the show today. With me, I have two exciting guests. We have Steve Matley, who is going to tell us about his show, Building Solid Foundations, and Michael Tracy, who is the founder of Sales Journey, which is a fantastic way for people to build income, to be fantastic humans and salespeople. We're going to learn more about what each of them are doing, starting with Building Solid Foundations. What can viewers expect? What do you have planned?
Well, it's a little different than this show and the Real Men of Real Estate. One reason I wanted to do the show is when I do these shows, we're by the titles, pretty much constrained into real estate related topics. And while that is what I do to make money, there's a lot more topics that I'm interested in. And I wanted to have a show where I really had free reign to talk about anything that interested me, have any guest on that I thought was a fascinating person for whatever they did. I will say that the first couple episodes I did were in fact real estate related because they were about my business. People don't understand a lot of what we do with land flip type deals. That's a very strange kind of a transaction for most people. So it gave me a chance to talk to people on the air and discuss what kind of transactions those look like. But then we had another show where I invited a couple young ladies in. They're just women in the construction business. And I wanted to talk about what is it like to be a young woman in the construction industry.
That's fascinating.
In a man's world. I had a couple of guests on that were young military veterans that transitioned out. What was it like, the journey to get out of the military, train, and go into a professional career? I had some students. I chair a program at a college. I run an undergrad and a graduate program in construction management. And I had some of my students in, and we just talked about what does that program look like? Why do more people not do it? And what are the advantages of doing it? And they discussed how they make much more money coming out of school than any of their peers do. 100% placement rates. The industry's begging for them, and nobody ever talked to them about it. They kind of fell into it by accident. So we had those kind of conversations. I had a conversation with a nutritionist and a personal trainer about health and nutrition and how those two pieces fit together. So I get to talk about a lot of things that it's called Building Solid Foundations because I look at it as building the solid foundation of your life. And the tagline is legacy, leadership, and life, the kind of L3. How do you build your legacy? How do you leave something behind? How do you leave the world a little better than you found it? How do you pass the baton to the next generation? Leadership, how, not title, but how do you get people to want to follow your influence because it benefits them and helps them benefit others? And life in general, how do you have a quality life? It's not just about, I go to work, I make some money, I pay some bills, I'm stressed about this, I get a knot in my stomach every Monday morning. No, that's not life. Life is about relationships, it's about enjoying what's here, and also looking to the future. Where are we going? What are you leaving behind? And you know, really taking your unique gifts, talents, skills, abilities, education. Everybody's got that unique set that makes them different from everybody else on the planet. I always say if two people on the planet are exactly alike, one of them is not necessary. And they have a unique set of that they bring to the table, and what are they doing with that to enrich other people? And that's really what the show's about.
Building Solid Foundations can be a play on words, but it sounds like you're absolutely putting actionable, tangible concepts that people can implement that are not ambiguous out there for them to take advantage of.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. Well, I'm excited to see the show, and I bet you I have some areas where I could benefit: health, nutrition. All of this stuff is relative to the lives that we lead. It's very practical, which is good too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Super. Michael, again, Sales Journey. I know how beneficial the concepts are that you bring to people because I have been able to implement some of the things that you teach. Share with us some of the concepts that maybe aren't just for someone who is in a sales role, but in general, that concept of as we become better people, we can sell things, which may just be an idea that helps somebody who is a little bit lost, etc.
Yeah, I'll talk about what I feel is like the common denominator for most salespeople, and it has to do with time. So most people have to get someone to pay attention before you get them to pay in any sort of money, right? So And most of the time, I learned this the hard way. I went from like a door-to-door sales background, where you're knocking on doors and you're doing transactional sales. And then I got into like software as a service, like an enterprise sales background. I get a qualified prospect on the phone, and I, blah, right? It's just like throw up all over the customer, like feature benefit, feature benefit, feature benefit, and then they would just be like, I'm not interested. They hang up the phone. And I realized what I wasn't doing is I wasn't selling and closing on time first. So regardless of what you're selling, right? Whether it's yourself, an idea, a business, a product, or service, you need to win somebody's attention. And you have to do that by focusing on the results and the benefits that they'll get. So instead of jumping into the features, like for example, what you do, nobody wants to hear about that. How it works, nobody cares, right? They want to know what the result or benefit or the improvement that they're going to receive. Then they'll give you the attention, and then you can get into all that. You can ask them great questions, discover needs, you can present your product or service in the right kind of appropriate format, and you can compel them to make a buying decision based on their own self-interest, because they're going to get that improvement or result.
Sure. The framework sounds like, you can go into that and train people on it. But one thing that I heard is solving a problem, then, that's where you're going to get their attention. Then you put in the framework once you've identified how you can help them. And then you've got all these things that people can say, I learned this, I know how to do it, I see the linear relationship to the time and the closing and so forth.
And there's never been like a time in history where people feel more distracted, right? Everybody's hyper distracted. There's so many different poles on our attention that we have so little of it, or at least the perception is we have so little of it. And you're competing against everything else. If they're going to pay attention to you, they're not going to check their Facebook or Instagram feed. They're not going to pick up that phone. They're not going to watch the Netflix show or read the book that they want, or whatever it is. So you have to have a really compelling hook, what they call a curiosity hook, to get their attention.
I
That's
agree.
the premise we used. It was called 10-1-10 theory. 10-1-10 theory says you have 10 seconds to get someone to give you 1 minute of their time, and in that 1 minute, if you do it right, they'll give you 10 minutes.
Interesting.
And if you follow that formula, it has to be in that order, because if in that first 10 seconds, if you don't engage them, you don't get the rest of it. They're done. They're out.
It's so true.
I'm so guilty of picking up my phone in situations where I know I have that 1 minute, right? I don't want to give it to anybody else. So your message and all these concepts for building solid foundations, that's something that's important, just the awareness of it. And then with what you bring to the marketplace, the way that you go about it, that's proper, that's effective, because like you said, you have salespeople that want to be salespeople, but they're going to get discouraged. Not everybody's going to be good at it. They see the money at the end of the road, but they're going to get distracted too.
And Michael, there's an interesting you said earlier about the fear of rejection.
Right.
And I think a lot of salesmen, the reason they don't get on time is because they don't want to stop talking. As soon as they stop talking and explaining the benefits and features, they've opened the door to be rejected.
Absolutely. Same reason why people don't ask for the sale. They don't try to close the sale, because that is another opportunity to get rejected. And it's all rejection avoidance behaviors.
Avoiding pain.
Yeah, avoiding pain, yeah. And so it's just as much psychological as it is practical and pragmatic. And Steve is a fellow pragmatist, so we're kind of on the same page, even though we're approaching things a little differently.
And actually, as you mentioned, everybody's kind of in sales. I do sales. I don't call myself a salesperson. I do education for sales. I actually go to real estate investor clubs and groups of people that are interested in real estate, and I will do a presentation. And what I'm doing is teaching them about what is another alternative to real estate investing through land flips. I don't sell them anything. I always get calls back asking for more information. They say, that was fascinating, I didn't know that existed, where do I find more information? And I will generally bring investors in through that.
In sales journey, what I say is teaching is the new selling. So I think what you're doing is perfect. You empower somebody with new information, new knowledge, new understanding. They're motivated and they're empowered, and then they have to go to you to buy, to get the result that you explained and elaborated on.
Yeah, and they don't feel their time was wasted. You're not creating that resistance where you have somebody saying, I've got zero time to give. I have so many pressures and so many demands, and here you are just dumping on top of me, because today with phones, we do get bombarded with so much advertising and retargeting and text messaging and all of this stuff. So having education as a benefit where someone feels like even if it's maybe not a fit for them, they're still open to the message. They're still open to the fact that they now know more than they did before.
Yeah, and that's leaving somebody better than you found them, honestly. And generally, if you're teaching people, they probably allocated that time to learn what it is you have to teach. And so you're not impeding on their time. You are providing a service in the time that they set aside to learn something.
And reciprocity is a very powerful driver. So if you teach somebody something and there's value in it, they will feel indebted to you. They'll want to even the ledger, so to speak, psychologically. And so they'll either want to help you find a student or find somebody for a property or an investment, or help you in some other way to kind of even that ledger.
Yeah, and you never know how long that could take. It could be very immediate, it could be long term, and that building relationships, that's part of a solid foundation, that's part of the sales journey. So these are wonderful nuggets of wisdom. These are great pieces of information that I think the viewers and the audience of our show come to see. So I appreciate the sharing of all of that. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. I'm your host, Lyndell Werling, for the finest women in real estate.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
My text to emoji ratio has gotten a little out of hand.
A little?
Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
First time I tried biking, and it was laying around my mom's house. I didn't know they'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
Welcome back to the finest women in real estate. We're going to wrap up our show today with a couple of additional insights from Steve and from Michael. And what we've already talked about is what it is that they do, the new show that Steve has coming out. But what I think would be fantastic is for maybe some concepts that our viewers can take with them at the culmination of this episode. So you've got this L3, you've got building solid foundations. What's a great maybe snippet life lesson that people can take away today?
I think what I like most about doing the Building Solid Foundations show, what you take away is it shows the value in almost anything that anybody can do that provides any kind of a service to anybody. And as we go forward, there's a lot of interesting shows that I have in my mind that I want to bring people in and talk about that are somewhat unusual, because again, it's an excuse for me to interview anybody I want that seems fascinating or interesting to me. But I think it shows that each and every person out there, and you were talking about providing value, whatever they're doing, they're providing value. Whether it's value in helping build wealth, or value in entertaining people, or value in finding a way to hack, some kind of a life hack of some type, a value in how to strengthen your relationships, whatever it is, there's value everywhere. And if you can identify that and let people talk about it, and when you allow people to talk about it, I think it helps validate what they're doing a little bit. It helps them have more passion towards what they're doing. They're a little better at that. And on the real men of real estate, the value there is that we actually providing a fairly deep level of education on some fairly complicated topics related to real estate. It's a little, I think if you watched episode after episode after episode, by the time you're done, you'd have a graduate degree in this stuff. And I love talking to the other guys because they come at different perspectives than I do. I have my experience in the industry. They come from different experience, and yet we all overlap. And we tend to have very good conversations together. And I hope the audience picks up on the energy we have and just the joy we have in sharing our knowledge with other people. And we're learning as much as anyone else. As I listen to the other guys I talk to, just like on this show, I learn from just being here and hearing what's around the table. And that's just enriching to me. All around, I think it's a matter of finding value for other people and also finding the value for yourself at the same time.
It sounds like coming with an open mind and some time to dedicate to it, you will leave with something you didn't have when you showed up.
That's the idea. Build the legacy, build the leadership, build the life. There you
Love
go.
it.
Yeah.
These are great concepts. Michael, I'm sure you have so many life lessons you can pull from, and why I love that you can share them with our audience today is because you're in demand. You're traveling internationally to share all this wisdom, this wealth of life experiences with people that are so far away. What can you tell our viewers today that might be a valuable asset to them?
So when I do a comprehensive sales training, whether it's in person or on my website, salesjourney.com, I put things in 3 buckets, right? So there's skills, tools, and then there's mindset principles or attitudes of the mind. And the mindset principle that I'll leave you with today, because it's kind of goes with the theme that Steve just mentioned about value, is a lot of people think about money. And they think to themselves, I gotta get more money. How do I get the money? That person has money. This person's making lots of money. I need more money, 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 money. So that's the wrong mindset to have around money. The right mindset is, how can I contribute more value? How can I contribute more value? Or the other way to look at it is, how do I make myself more valuable? And when you do those two things, when you focus on yourself, continuous learning, and increase your skill set, you will start making more money. It's indirect, but it comes. If you add lots of value, contribute lots of value, the money might not come immediately, but it will eventually come, right? The money is just a byproduct of value. It is nothing, it's worth nothing in and of itself. It literally is just an element of trust between Steve and me, that he's giving me money in exchange for value. And that's what it represents. So trying to go get money in and of itself doesn't make any sense. So switch your mindset to value contribution and elevate your skill set.
It is an entirely different perspective when you look at it that way. And I love the idea of looking at money as a concept is valueless, because you're missing what it can do for you, and you're missing the focus on how can I be a better, person, how can I increase my skills. And you can obviously, as you said, generate more money by being more in demand, by having more expertise. Because when people are looking for answers or solutions, if you have that, and if you can frame it to solve their problems or fulfill their needs, that's what it's about. It's the mindset. And that, I think I love hearing on your show. Mindset is one of the foundations in each of these experts that you're bringing in, and these fascinating people that you want to talk to and share with our viewers.
Helps them leverage the number of people they can benefit. And then you talk about money. Does the corner lemonade stand or does Minute Maid make more money off of lemonade? Probably Minute Maid. Why? Because they serve more people lemonade. There's more people that get the lemonade from them, right? So, and I look at the same thing. If they come on a show like this, they get to share that with a lot more people, which means their opportunity to make a little more money is now increased because they've benefited more people.
Right, right.
The benefit comes first.
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us today to share all this information. I'm excited because that whole concept of, just reframing what's going on in my head is certainly something I can take with me today. Before we conclude, I'd love to thank our sponsor. We are sponsored today by Fire Up Connect. As part of the Finest Women in Real Estate, Fire Up Connect supports all of the women and men in the industry. And I also want to let you know where you can find us 24/7 on demand. Amazon Fire TV, Roku, and we are now sharing some of our episodes and content on YouTube as well. If you want to use some of the other social media platforms, go to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We're Finest Women in Real Estate or Finest Women in RE. Thank you. I'm your host, Lyndell Werling, and we look forward to catching you on our next episode.